Like a little fun fact about Henrik. He's a little afraid of introductions.
Yeah, no, I changed the flat actually, so that I don't have to. Yeah, you guys know. I changed the flat. It's very nice. Like I can.
Oh yeah.
Well, at least you're not in the toilet anymore.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you. Like I changed this. I have new internet connection. Yes. Hello, everybody. Let's do it a little bit more formal, even if it's Sunday. I'm Henrik. I'm born and raised in northern Germany, and now live and work in South Austria. Actually, not Australia. I joined X Culture in 2015 spring semester as a student when I was studying in Poland, and then I did the coach. Oh, sorry. Then I did the coach program, then the head coach program, and in July I went to the symposium in Macerata, and yeah, that's it about me so far.
Okay, lovely introduction.
Jake, would you like to share? Oh. Jake Thompson.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to make sure my microphone's working.
You're good.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so obviously my name's Jake Thompson. I live in Spokane, Washington, so way on the west coast of the United States, basically. I actually just started my MBA program last Tuesday, and I work full-time for a local bank here, so I'm trying to pretty much do everything between head coach work and go to school at the same time. So
a really motivated person. Nothing wrong about that. Yeah, nothing wrong about that.
No, among the stack of books that I have sitting behind me that I'd like to read just for fun, like I think I have like 20, I think.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, so I'm an avid reader as well. So if you guys have any books that you want to recommend, I'm always open to hearing them.
Let's see. So we've got some new people to the X Culture team this year. So let's start with Marlon. If you would like to share anything, go ahead and unmute yourself. If not, just let me know and we can pass over you. Marlon? Marlon?
She left. Just like Kim, like.
Okay. How about Syed? Syed? You there? Syed? Okay, that's okay. How about Marcia? Would you like to share about yourself? Nope.
Nobody.
Let me try that. Marcia?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Go ahead and share about yourself. We've seen you before, so.
The last year I was in the culture program of coaching program. And this year I applied for head coach and they say me yes. So I'm a student. I'm still in the university. I'm studying international negotiations and I'm pretty happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. And what country are you in?
I'm in Colombia.
Very nice. Thanks. Thank you. I think we'll go ahead. Oh, Scarlett, don't let me forget you. Would you like to introduce yourself if you're there? Yep, you are.
Hey, I'm Scarlett. I am an undergrad student. I'm from Venezuela, but I live in the US. And I met some of you at the X Culture Symposium.
Very nice. We're happy to have you. All right. So we actually have a lot to cover. Tim, did you?
Yes, but we have a raising hand. If I'm seeing it correctly.
Let me see where the raising hand is. Hold on. Ah, Syed. Okay. I've unmute you, Syed. Go ahead and talk. Oh, I hear you. Okay. Saeed, we can hear you very faintly. Go ahead and speak a little bit closer to the microphone.
All right. So, I'm a graduate. I'm doing the business administration from University of Lahore. Currently, I'm also doing the multiple projects as specifically entrepreneurship and the marketing. And in the culture, as I already participated as a student, and from the last semester, I did coaching. But for this semester, I'm not sure still that either I'm working as a coach. I need to get cleared. And that's it.
Very good. Thank you. And we're happy to have you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody's mic except for Tim's. And go ahead, you know where the unmute button is. Raise your hand like Saeed did if you need help unmuting that, okay? So Tim, do you want to go ahead and address anything? And I've got a list of people. Thank you guys for submitting your questions. So we're going to...
Oh, we have a lot of questions?
We have a lot of questions to cover. So we have a lot of good questions, actually. So first things that somebody would like us to address is the rules and expectations of our coaching and head coaches.
Okay, so that was the first question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, this is going to be a very informal webinar, so just don't get, like if you thought it would be very formal, just don't get the wrong idea. This is the only one that will be informal, where we will just talk about our experiences, questions that you might have. We will do that on a weekly basis, so we will have our formal conversations about experiences, but these are the ones that are for questions. Okay, so in the first one, in terms of expectations, actually, I can put that question back at you guys because I know a couple of you, I've seen a couple of you at the conference, but I can give you a couple of rules or expectations, but what is your expectation of the coaching program? Because my expectations is that everybody gets to learn a new thing, that we progress to the materials that we have, that you get something on your resume, that you can use that to apply for jobs. But in this case, it's more what you expect. Like if we know from you guys, okay, this is what I expect from the coaching program. If this is something that I want to learn, for example, or you are working currently at a specific job, as Jacob mentioned, he is working at a bank. If he has a specific skill that he wants to learn, for example, we can try to integrate that for him for individual use or for the whole group to learn that specific skill. So let's just go one by one what your expectations are. You might be a head coach, you might be a coach, doesn't matter. Like what your expectation is. And then from there on out, I will also just say the general expectations that we have for the coaching program and what you can expect from us that you will learn throughout the process. So Kim, can you give everybody the chance to speak?
Yes, I'm going to start with you, Jake. Okay.
So my expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, on the spot. My expectation. My expectation really is to just gain. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what the word is. I guess what I'm trying to do in the next 5 years, I'm trying to become an assistant manager within my bank. So I'm trying to get a sense of leadership and managerial role through this program in global virtual teams, and kind of how we help the coaches and the students, and how can I apply that to being a manager, knock on wood, in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So like for an assistant manager, what kind of skills do you require? Like what is the requirement for you to apply for that specific position?
Honestly, it's trying to think. Within my bank, it's basically a combination of experience within the bank and also experience in leadership. So the way that our bank works is that we have a model for the employees. So like myself, I'm considered a level 2. So once you reach level 5, then you're being groomed for management and leadership. So basically once I get to that level 5, then I can start looking into what's it take to be an assistant manager. So.
Okay, and basically practical experience brings you up a level.
In a sense, yeah. So if I can demonstrate practical experience and like I actually, how am I trying to word this? We actually have a work project right now, so we're developing a new employee onboarding tool that I am the team leader on. So using what I've learned from X Culture plus that and working in the bank and getting my MBA, I think all of those will get me to like level 5. So that's where that super motivation comes in.
Okay, now I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's good. So you have something in mind. You have a goal in mind that you want to do. So that's what I'm saying. Like you have expectations of yourself in terms of, okay, I want to be an assistant manager. So that's your goal. And then with the things that you're doing, your MBA or the coaching program, in this case, you basically already know, okay, I want to have this. So that's your expectation. So you want to have practical experience. So we can work with that. We can try to give you more cases, or we can try to give you some more leadership activities so that you can actively put this in your portfolio, for example. So as long as you provide us with your expectations, we can always work around. If it fits with the coaching program, we can always work around that.
Right.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
And how about Maria? Do you want to tell us what you maybe have expectations? We might not get to everybody just for sake of time. We have a lot of questions, but I'm just going to, randomly call on people. If you got something to say, go ahead and tell us. But if not, maybe you don't know what to expect. So then just
or raise your hand.
Or
raise your hand and you can speak.
Yeah. So Maria, do you mind if I pick on you next?
Well, my expectations.
Yeah.
I wanna learn a lot. I wanna have challenge because I want to go out of my comfort zone and a lot more about how to deal with things, how to schedule things, about logistics. The last year when I was in the program, coaching program, I didn't know a lot more about webinars, so it was a lot of challenge to me. But since I learned about it, now I can do better things than before and change things like what I did before. That's why. And I don't know where I'm going to work. I don't know yet, but this will help me a lot about to know where I'm going to direct my career.
Very nice. And let's see, maybe one more, panelist. How about Scarlett? Can I pick on you next?
Sure. Hello. I don't really have any expectations. I signed up because I really like X Culture. I wanted to see, how it would be. And I like it because there are a lot of things that we need to do and learn, like basically like a class and teach people about things that you've learned here. So I think I like it because it's a challenge. And I'll see. I don't have any expectations, so I'm coming with an open mind.
Very nice.
Well, that's always the best approach.
Very nice. All right. So Tim, maybe next on our list, we have a question about how does the feedback process work?
Okay, yeah, that's an easy one. So after today, everybody will, I think you should have already received your email addresses, right? Yes. If not, then VAS should be sending them shortly, or the IT department. But the feedback, so that's one segment of the coaching program, okay? So giving feedback, how to give constructive feedback, providing that to the students, and then also the head coaches will provide feedback on your feedback so that okay, this is what I'm doing wrong, or specific words that I shouldn't mention. But the feedback process in general, just to give you a logistic kind of view on it, is we basically get the progress surveys, right? So you were in the program before, those progress surveys with your team that you were working on, although it was one person from every single continent, for example, you always had to deliver some kind of feedback, what you did that week on Sunday, right? So that progress survey is being sent to X Culture from all the teams and put into a data kind of Qualtrics management system. We download that data, that data comes to us into the coaching program on Monday, Tuesday morning latest. If anything goes wrong or we're delayed with the normal with the normal program that Xculture has. And then afterwards, we distribute it to you guys via email. So we have like a distribution scheme where everybody gets a specific amount of teams, or they are located by company, for example, so that you know exactly every single week, okay, I'm going to work on this company, I'm going to provide feedback for that company, or I'm going to provide feedback to these kinds of teams. Once that is in place, of course, you would have to give feedback on it. And then at the end of the week, we set it on Friday, if I'm correct. But if there's any delay, for example, we get it on Tuesday, we will make sure that you also have an extra day to actually work on it. So then it would be Saturday. But in general, at the end of the week, you basically submit your feedback to us. We let the head coaches give you feedback on your feedback, and at the same time your feedback will be directly sent to the students. So while the head coaches are giving you feedback for it, the process that the feedback goes to the students is already made. So whatever you write down on your paper while reviewing their work is directly sent to them. So just keep in mind that whatever you say that is constructive, etc. But we will give you some kind of template for this when this becomes active. So that's next week, starting from, I think, today, right? So basically after today, in US time, that is, so basically in the evening, Kim can download all the data, and then we will be sending it to you. Mm-hmm. So that is kind of how the process works in general. Like there's a lot more detail to it. So if you have any questions about more detail, or right now if you want to raise your hand, that's fine. Then I can just go into the details. But in general terms, that is how it works. So we download the data once we get it from Xculture, or we know, okay, it's there on Sunday. Then we distribute it to you guys by a sort of distribution scheme, so that we already put this in place, so that if I'm not available, Kim can just check which team it belongs to which coach. And then at the end of the week, we expect you to submit your findings or feedback, and we send that directly to the students. That is one segment of the coaching program, because we want you to be able to act like a coach, give feedback, make sure that they use your feedback in a constructive way, so that you can actually make sure that the team is moving forward or can even create a better report. That's one of the qualities of a coach or leadership. Secondly, of course, we have the case management, which is a second segment of the coaching program. But just for the sake of this question, I will not talk about that. But that is it in general terms. Perfect. Oh, Jake, have a question.
Actually, I have two questions for you, okay. And hopefully we can answer them real quickly, because I know we're constrained on time. So the first question I have, so as a previous coach, obviously, we had to submit the feedback as coaches as one, kind of like one voice. Does that sound right?
Well, yeah, in one document, right?
Run one document, kind of. Yeah, we all collaborated on what the general feedback of the company was. Is that going to be the same model this time?
We're actually gonna have two models. So for example, we have the early track and the late track. Early track, they already are at the final stages. So basically tomorrow when you get the data from us, that will be their third installment, and their fourth installment is going to basically be their final draft. Okay, so for the early track, because they start a little bit earlier, because we try to make sure that every single university that is partnered up with us can participate. So some universities start earlier, some start later. So the early track, that will be as a combined effort, like one voice. Okay, so you will have your team of coaches. You will quickly provide feedback on the things that are being made, because it's only 100 or maybe 150 teams that you have to take care of. The late track, however, that will be individual, because we will have around 700 teams. So that's 7 times the amount that we have. So that will be separate. So you will have a combined version. So for the first 2 weeks, probably you will have one voice, one document where you will collaborate. So you will basically learn for the first 2 weeks how to collaborate, what kind of feedback you think we should give to the students. However, your colleague or another coach may say, okay, no, we can also say this to them. So you learn from each other. So that's the first installment. Second installment that happens after the 2 weeks, we will be more into the individual. However, with individual, your team that you're going to have, so for example, you're going to have 10 teams for you alone. Those 10 teams are also shared by another one. That doesn't mean that you can collaborate with each other, but it's backup. So basically, if you give feedback to 10 teams, one of the other coaches is also giving feedback to them so that they can get 2 sets of feedback. So if you say, okay, this report was totally not on par with what the rest was, what I read, then in terms of what she might say is like, no, I actually like this because the other teams that I looked at that were not part of these 10 teams, they were actually good. So basically, people can give different feedback. So we want to make sure that they don't get only one set, but they get 2 sets of feedback so that they can work with that. So yes, it will be individual at the end, but in the beginning will be group-based.
Okay. And then, I have this awesome thing where I space my questions, so I lost my second question. So
no worries.
I think that's it for now. If it comes back to me, I'll ask you.
Perfect.
Okay,
And send it through the chat, and then we can say, hey, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And let's see. Okay, so next question we had was, when are the reflection papers supposed to be starting?
The reflection papers. Wow, people want to go to the end already. We just started the semester. So the reflection papers, which also include the portfolio, we are doing it a little bit different than the last time because we're going to give you a little bit more information. So in terms of the head coaches will be, it will be mandatory for my head coaches to give their own webinars instead of just giving feedback on the coaches. So they will be hosting their own lectures. And these will not be questions or Q&As. These will more be like, okay, I'm currently working on a job, for example. We're talking about compliance, and I will give a webinar or a one-on-one on compliance, for example. So you get different perspectives on different kinds of industries, right? So we will give that as a sort of head coach, and that will be their portfolio. In terms of the reflection paper and portfolio for the coaches, that will be based on what they do in the coaching program. So first of all, to answer the question, this will happen at the end of the coaching program. So for example, the portfolio itself, you will get feedback about that or information about that, I think, in the next 3 weeks. So not now in the beginning, but you will receive that in the next following 3 weeks. Because the portfolio will be an extended assignment, right? Everything that you do in the coaching program belongs to that portfolio. Eventually, that portfolio is going to be your final grade. We will look at that, we will review it, and if you have done enough, you pass into the coaching program and you get your certificate, right? In terms of the reflection paper, this is something different. So reflection paper, of course, there is a section in the portfolio where you will have to tell us what you've learned, what you have done with things that you didn't know about, what did you improve, etc., and how did you solve like cases that you got and which you first didn't know what to do with, right? So we want to see that there was kind of sort of a progress with yourself, and that you eventually evolved in something different, right? In terms of the complete reflection paper, that is something that comes after the coaching program. So we will have a couple of surveys. However, the reflection paper, what we want to see, and that will also be linked to the PET project, is that you come up with something that can benefit yourself or the coaching program. So it's kind of reflection papers / improved feedback, like giving us feedback plus giving yourself feedback. So for example, the ones that we had last semester, there was one of them that said, okay, I've learned this and this and this and this and this. But I actually, because I expected something from the coaching program, that's why we asked this question in this webinar in the beginning, so that we know, okay, what do the coaches expect? What do the head coaches expect? But in the beginning, he mentioned a couple of things. And at the end, in the reflection paper, there was one section, and I think it was practical experience, but not actually giving feedback, but more getting in contact with the students. And we basically didn't have the time to do that with him. So he missed out on that. So what he did in his evaluation paper or reflection paper was basically saying, okay, how can we improve this? So he made a evaluation / reflection paper about, okay, how can I improve this for myself, but also for the X-Culture program, so that the next ones in the coaching program can actually have that kind of experience, right? So that will be at the end. So you will have in the reflection paper about yourself in the portfolio, and we will explain that in the next 3 weeks. But the other paper that will be due for you, so basically that you can get the certificate, plus for us to see, okay, what can be improved, that will be at the end of the coaching program. I guess if I had to say it right now, it would be beginning of December. And we have the whole month still in December, because the program ends, I think, at the 23rd. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you will have at least 23 days.
So this right now is a great time. If you guys are having any troubles, make notes of them. I mean, maybe you're confident that they will be resolved, but make notes of them. And as you solve them, or as they become more clear to you, maybe write down how they were solved, and you can put that in a reflection paper. You can also maybe address how they can be solved quicker for the next upcoming coaches. So that'd be great feedback for us as well.
Yes, and one thing, just because we're in the beginning of the coaching semester, one thing that I want to make clear is you're the master of your own personal development. We are here to basically give you that extra experience, so that when you go for a job, etc., you can show, okay, I have done this. I've done the coaching program as well. Next to the original program, I've learned how to deal with different cultures. I've learned how to lead different teams, give them feedback. So there are a lot of things that you can learn from us, because we provide that to you during the coaching program. But you're the master of your own personal development. If you want to learn something, if you want to acquire skills, if you want to create a position in X-Culture for yourself by creating something new, for example, like, everything starts with yourself. So be very honest with yourself. Okay, what do I want from this coaching program? What do I want from my university, my MBA, etc.? You all have like a sort of vision why you're doing it. Why are you paying for MBA, right? So, etc. This is also for the coaching program. Why are you doing this? So make sure that in the beginning, and that's the most important part, in the beginning, try to figure out, maybe write down like 1, 2, or 3 different goals that you would like to have achieved after the coaching program, so that once the coaching program is over, you can actually say, okay, I've actually learned this. I got this right now. Just like Maria said, like, she didn't know how to do webinars. Currently, she does know how to do webinars, right? So make sure that you keep yourself entertained. Make sure that you keep developing yourself. Okay.
Okay. We've got another question about, let's see, once the team submits reviews and comments, how can the coaches access the online documents?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Once the teams submit reviews and comments to the students, how do the coaches access the online documents? Will they receive?
Which online document?
I'm guessing. I think the like the reviews and comments piece.
You mean that they get downloaded and sent to them, or you mean once they give feedback, what happens with the document?
That last one.
Okay, the last one. Okay, so once you give feedback, once you have it, like for example, we have 10 teams. I'm handling 10 teams. I read their reports, or at least a section of it, like let's say the section of marketing, and I'm looking through their information. I'm saying, okay, feedback for this one is they use too much plagiarism or whatever it is, or these facts don't align with what they're saying, etc. Could be any kind of feedback, right? Basically, you send it to the deadline email that has been put into the schedule. So, for example, on Friday, it has to be delivered to my email. I receive it into my email. I get your document and I send it to the corresponding like teams. So in this case, those 10 teams would receive my feedback, I think, on Saturday. So if I receive everything on Friday, I will send everything out on Saturday, and then the students can read the feedback that you gave them. Now, if I'm understanding the question correctly, you're asking me how the coaches are going to know what the students thought of the feedback. Is that correct? Or
I think they're wondering how are the coaches getting the documents, or how are the coaches getting the
the coach is getting the documents, but that's in the beginning, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if it's in the beginning, then in this case, on Sunday we download it, or Monday morning we download it, and basically it gets on your email. So you have your Xculture email, and what we do is we directly give you your 10 teams. So by Monday, so by tomorrow, I'm not sure which time it will be, but you will receive an email from us saying, okay, you have been assigned these teams, and then with the corresponding documents. So you will have the documents of 10 teams with you, and then we ask you to have this done by Friday, basically reviewing all those 10 documents for those 10 teams and sending it back to us by Friday so that we can send it to the students. That's the first segment. So we will provide you with the materials, you provide us with the materials with feedback, and we send it to the students. So you are learning how to give feedback, but in this case, you're wondering if you get feedback on your feedback. So what I said is the head coaches on Friday, once you deliver it to me, I will send it directly to the students, but also to the head coaches. The head coaches then have a specific amount of time to send their feedback to you. So they will directly send the feedback to you so that, for example, Kim, she's a head coach, she will appoint you to, Kim, actually, coaching director right now. So Henrik, last semester. So Henrik, for example, head coach, he will be assigned, he will get an email from us on Monday, for example, saying, okay, you are assigned these coaches. And after Friday, when I send him your feedback, he will then, by his assigned coaches, he will then give us feedback, what you gave us. He will give feedback for you and then send it to you. Okay, so it's a standardized process, basically.
Great. And okay, so, and then are the coaches also screening for the survey results as well this year?
You mean if they see the survey results, or?
For a student, yeah, so there's like there's the group submissions, but are the students also participating in like the satisfaction surveys right now? And then this,
I think that coaches will receive surveys as well. Yes, yeah, on a weekly basis. If, for example, what we said, like our coaching program, we are providing you with certain materials. However, we find it also very important that because we're so multicultural, because we are Xculture in this case, the brand itself wants to develop itself by any means. So what I'm saying is, like, Xculture is not just one organization. It's part of different entities. It's different people, individuals, etc. So, for example, the coaching program, we exist from coaches. Like if Kim and I would do it alone, yes, we have a certain standard plan, like a sort of lesson plan that we basically teach you something, right? Like if it's math, we teach you a certain calculation. However, the more diversity that we have among the coaches, like the more opinions we have, the more that we actually learn from each other as well. And that's the most important point. Like if you go to class and you learn a calculation, yes, that's fine. That's one thing that you've learned your whole life, one calculation. However, if during that calculation, I'm learning from different other people how they calculate the same calculation but differently, that's more rich development for me instead of that I would just do it by myself. So if I wanted to do something by myself, I wouldn't participate in X Culture or coaching program because I can just do it at home, whatever I want. However, during the coaching program, diversity is encouraged. So if you have a different solution to the problem, tell us. So that's why we have those weekly surveys, so that whenever you feel like, wow, okay, I'm missing this, definitely have to mention this. Put it in the comments, we read them and see, okay, is this something that we can work with? If we something that we can provide you with, or if this is something that we can put into the next semester, for example. Every single bit helps. And I think that's what I'm saying. You're the master of your own personal development. If you want to achieve something in life, don't ask for it, do it. Because in the end, you're the one that's taking control of your own life, not somebody else. So why wait for something if you can also actively do it and then make the opportunity for yourself? Like that, I'm not sure who said it, but there's one person that said it, cannot currently come up with the name, but basically he said, like, if there's no job out there for you, just create the job for yourself, right? So that's the same kind of spirit that we have with the coaching program. The bigger it becomes, the more you can actually do something. And that's why we have those pet projects as well right now, so that you can actually say, okay, I want to do something, but I need some backup. X Culture will be your backup this time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Is that clear?
That's a good.
Okay.
All right. And so we kind of already touched base on this topic, but just to reemphasize it, what would be the best advice for building a successful portfolio? What should it consist of? And what is the number of webinars, video recordings, live events that we're required to do? I'll answer that last piece. There's no required number of webinars, video recordings, except for your last one, that you're required to do. But the point of this is to gain international experience. And I'm guessing you coaches are not going to be talking to each other on your own. And also, we love to have that collaboration piece. So the more face-to-face interaction we actually get via webinars or however, the better. That's the best way for international communication to work. So we're not going to tell you you have to make attendance for 10 of them, though. So it's kind of, you're going to make it what you want to be, and you're going to get out of this program what you put in. So it's kind of up to you. And then, Tim, can you reemphasize the successful portfolio piece?
Yes, like as Kim already said, it's not mandatory to be in the webinars. However, I would highly encourage it because, as he said, it's international development. You're talking to people, you're networking at the same time without you knowing it yourself. But at the same time, for the portfolio, everybody can make a portfolio. It's simple. It's basically putting documents together. In general terms, that's how a portfolio works. You just have one map and you put a lot of documents of what you have done or achieved, etc., and you show this to people. That's your portfolio. However, a very good portfolio, and I think we have seen a couple of them, it's how you represent yourself. Like if I would go to a company, right? Just a small example. If I would go to the company that Jacob works right now, he wants to be a system manager. If I come with a portfolio that has everything and nothing in my portfolio, like just even like my swimming diploma, I don't know, AB or whatever it is, that I don't drown in the water, like those things don't matter. Yes, you have accomplished them, but you don't go to a job to basically show, okay, this is my whole life. You have to basically specialize it. And this is also something that works with the portfolio. And the better the portfolio is, the more specialized it is. And you have to take that into consideration. But specializing, in my opinion, when I, for example, hire people for being a business development director, etc., and asking them to work with the UN, I'm not looking for a specialized portfolio. What I'm looking for is basically somebody that knows himself or herself, okay? And you can see that by first having a specialized portfolio. So basically only showing the specific qualities that are necessary for the job. So if I go for an assistant manager, I probably only show my achievements that are for leadership or for handling people or for cultural management. So, for example, if I have a couple of people that are not from my country, that I can actually handle them because I know what cultural differences are. So that is what I mean with specialization. Then at the same time, I want to see if you're motivated, like know yourself. Like if I'm going to give you a task, for example, I want to see, okay, are you going to be able to finish it on time? Are you reliable? Are you trustworthy, etc.? Because I'm putting you in a position where leadership is required. So I also want to know if you're not only capable of leadership, but also capable of doing something on time. Right? So all these qualities have to be reflected in your portfolio as well. Maybe as a sort of assignment saying, okay, I did this assignment, which is related to leadership, but I did it on time, and that's why this happened, etc. Like specialization is not enough. If you want to make sure that it's the best of the best and that you really stand out from the crowd, like a sort of, let's say every single portfolio is great, but just by your information, it looks a little bit colorful, then in this case, you have to know yourself as well. Like, for example, Jacob here, I don't know him very well. He has been in the coaching program. However, I haven't met him, if I'm correct. Like, if I'm not correct, then please hit me. But like he is doing the coaching program again. And basically he's saying, I want to be a system manager. That's why I'm so motivated. I want to do this, my MBA, etc. Like motivation is a strong key point. Just put it into the portfolio. Let me show me that you actually can show that you're motivated. Just not by saying it, because everybody can do that, but show me by your achievements. So if I see him in his portfolio without having him one-on-one in front of me, basically saying, okay, let's go through his portfolio. Okay, he did this, he did this, he did this. Okay, this seems to be generic, very general. But if I see he did it at the same year, I'm like, okay, who is this guy? Why can he manage so many different things in the same year? He must be very motivated. Like, I don't even know the guy, but I know by his record that the things that he did that I know require a lot of time because I've been through that same experience myself, for example, then I instantly know, okay, I can trust him. He does things on time. Otherwise, he would never finish these 3 positions. He would also be trustworthy. He'll also be motivated to actually, if I give him a task, that he would do it without me asking or babysitting him, etc. So think about how you're going to do your portfolio. It's not as simple as putting stuff together and saying, okay, just grade me, please, because I just want to finish the coaching program. If you really want to take the potential out of the coaching program and out of yourself, making your work, like your time worth by doing this, then try to think about that. And it doesn't only help with the portfolio, it also helps with the CV or when you apply for a job. Thinking about how to specialize your CV or thinking about how to actually present yourself are key points. And I think that the last one, knowing how to present yourself, knowing yourself actually by thinking about yourself, like, okay, am I motivated? What are my strongest qualities, etc., goes a long way. I've hired more people basically on their personality than on their resume because things that they lack can be trained, right? But actually their personality is something very difficult to change. So most of the time it goes by the second part. So knowing yourself is very important, whatever you do.
Great. And all right, so I know we're coming close to the hour. So this is from a head coach, okay? My university is hosting an X-Culture program. Am I allowed to offer face-to-face advice if I were to be contacted by a student?
You mean if it falls into the team of that coach, specific coach, or is it like
say like the professor has a class of students that are currently taking it, and having somebody with an experience at that school who may be like just down the hall, if the professor has some generic questions that the head coach might have experience with, can they answer them?
Yeah, so basically, if I'm understanding the situation correctly, a professor or the students in that specific university could come to that person and basically ask questions, right? Like in terms of like if a coach would be assigned to, like, let's say like one of those students, I mean, of course they can ask the questions to that specific coach, but I understand the convenience by just going around the corner and just asking that question directly. Like if that's the case, yes, but think about the possibilities. Like if your professor comes to you and asks you that question as a head coach, for example, because this question came from a head coach, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're a head coach currently and you've done the program as a coach already, like think about the possibilities. If the professor comes to you and says like, yeah, I have a couple of questions, think about what that could mean for you. Like either you can put that into your portfolio saying like, I didn't only do the head coaching program, but I also helped out my professor for a whole semester, or with the students that were there, I kind of had a sort of assistant professor kind of role because I helped them with this semester throughout X-Culture. Like try to think of situations, positions, etc. that could basically that could be put into the portfolio, plus complement your qualities as a professional as well. But yeah, it's definitely possible. Like if you have time for that, if you are available for that, then I wouldn't say no to it. It would only increase your personal development and also your professional development. Just make sure that whenever you are in a situation like that, that you're very careful that you don't mix opinions. So, for example, if a student or a professor comes to you and asks you for advice, make sure that you also, before you give advice, ask them, okay, is it correct that you already got assigned a coach? Then maybe you can say, okay, I can answer this question for you, but the next time, please go to your coach because he is also ready for you to handle these situations. Not making sure that there's not a conflict of interest, but that's a different topic.
Perfect. And let's see, more information about the mini lectures that they're assigned to do at the end of the term.
Yes, so basically, as I already said, there are different segments into the coaching program. So feedback is one of them, cases are a second one in terms of conflict resolution. But there are also different segments. So for your portfolio, we also ask you to do a webinar, a video lecture, a training module. So basically that you get a feeling, okay, how do I teach a different subject? So most of you are very much inclined to do a specific industry. So for example, Jacob probably is in his best interest of doing international business or finance or whatever it is that brings him to that position, right? However, most of the people that actually try to explain something, they, in their head, and it happened a lot to me, okay? And I think it is like a universal thing. So when you explain something, you completely know what you're talking about, 100%. But it doesn't always have to be that the person that you're talking to also understands it 100% because they are not in your head, they're not in your mind, and you have to find a specific level, like a sort of synchronizing level where you can see, okay, this is where the person understands me. If I go a little bit higher, intellectual or whatever it is, then they don't understand me fully, so I have to explain it again, etc. So with every person that you communicate with, you have to be in their shoes. So what we ask you to do, video lecture, webinar, training model, is to see, okay, how do I explain a specific subject? How do I go about explaining it into a video lecture? How do I go about explaining it into a webinar? Because when you do that, the more you do that, especially when you're studying, for example, you already learned that principle, right? You learn by doing. So, or you learn by studying. And in this case, when you're doing something like that, you learn the subject yourself. So we have given you training materials. We have given you a lot of other stuff that we're going to do with you, practical experience. If you put that to practice into a webinar explaining it, you will learn it again. And we hope in this process that, first of all, what you're doing will be added to your portfolio so that you can use it whenever you're going to apply for something or want to have like a promotion. However, at the same time, we want you to make sure that after the coaching program that you learned everything and you don't forget it. Okay? Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Sounds good to me. And in the case that so from a coach, In the case that I cannot attend virtual meetings, webinars, etc., where will we be posting them? So there's a couple locations. We will be posting them to our YouTube channel. I suggest you subscribe. It's really inconvenient. Tim, are we also going to be doing a Facebook group this year, or are we kind of phasing out of Facebook groups?
Well, I'm gonna create for tomorrow. I'm gonna create a WhatsApp group.
Okay.
But we can also do a Facebook group. The only thing that I'm worrying about is that yes, we can make a Facebook group. However, then we have 2 social medias where we can actually talk to them. Of course, WhatsApp is very easy. Everybody has it. Everybody can communicate directly. With Facebook, of course, we have more options. What we can do, we can create a page, we can add documents, we can make it a little bit more organized.
That's what I do like about Facebook, because you can post like threads, or example. It's more blog-like where you have different topics versus one chain thread in WhatsApp. But WhatsApp is also so convenient. It's like, just
No.
so we can do both. I'm fine if I can manage the Facebook. If you wanted to manage the WhatsApp, we can test that.
Yeah, let's do the following. We will make the WhatsApp group just for communication. So, for example, if I send out an email, I will just put a quick update in the WhatsApp group saying, okay, guys, everybody, you received an email. Just check your email whenever you have time. So let's do that. Let's keep that WhatsApp group for communication in terms of what needs to happen, or if there are questions, they can ask me directly via WhatsApp, and I will respond most of the time immediately. In terms of the Facebook group, let's do the following, where we will have active discussion, threads, etc., so that if there's any need for cultural development, or people want to collaborate on some stuff, etc., that they have the possibility to actually put it down there. We just make a private page, and then everybody can just join. We will invite them, and then they can just actively collaborate with each other.
Excellent. All right, and let's see. We have somebody. So we've talked a lot about how the coaches work. Real quickly, how are the head coaches working? So
the head coaches are working. So they have a different palette of what they have to do. Of course, the first segment, giving feedback, remains the same for them. So in terms of giving feedback to the coaches, that is their main priority. So coaches give feedback to students, head coaches give feedback to coaches. Afterwards, however, there are different things that they are allowed to do, and mandatory actually as well, some of the things. For example, as I mentioned, it's mandatory this semester that the head coaches provide a subject webinar, not just a webinar of their choosing, but just a subject where they give a series of lectures. So let's say, as I said, Karina, for example, I'm not sure if she's here today, but she will be the head coach for this semester as well. And what she will be doing, because she's working in compliance at her company, so she is going to give a series one-on-one on compliance. So what does it mean? What is compliance? What does it mean for her company? What does it mean for the industry? How can you get into this industry, etc.? So all these questions will be answered into a series of webinars that will be given to the coaches. So they can either join the webinar, or it will be a recording that we will share with them. So we, at the end of the semester, want to have a series of different kinds of topics that can be used for the next semesters as well. But eventually, if it turns out to be very valuable, every single semester we will have a database of different topics to make the experience or the coaching program more informative, more personal development, professional development, etc. The benefit for the head coach in this case will be that they have something to show in their portfolio, because if they are already working in that industry, of course, talking about it will make their practical experience richer, plus they can use it to get a promotion, of course. Besides that, there are a couple of other things that they should do, but we will be talking about that, because I don't want to make it too long. I feel like I'm talking for an hour, and I actually wanted to have a webinar where we have the coaches or head coaches speak a little bit more. But yeah, so I will have that in an email. So we will be discussing this as head coaches, because the head coaching program, although it started directly with the coaches, Monday the coaches will get their email with the data that they need. However, the head coaches only have to give feedback starting from Friday when we get their feedback submitted to my email. So we will have time to make sure that the head coaches understand fully what they need to do. And we will do that in beginning of next week or mid next week. So basically on Wednesday latest, you will definitely have an email from me explaining what the head coaches should be doing this semester.
Okay. I'm taking notes as we are talking. So to Tim's point, you guys, we are at the top of the hour, but we do want to hear from you guys if you have any questions, comments, maybe compliments. I don't know. So whatever you guys want to talk about, we do want to open the floor. So that way you guys who showed up don't feel neglected. So
yeah, just while Kim is searching for somebody that wants to talk, as I said, as I'm always saying in the semesters, actually, it's the lack of talking in the webinars, because most of the people are afraid to say something. Please, like, starting from this semester, I've always been saying it, but we will ask you to speak. So it's not going to be intercultural or international if I'm the only one that's speaking, because then it's just becoming a lecture. And although I like talking, and as you can see, I can talk for hours, but eventually you have that little voice in your head saying, like, you can actually hear yourself talking, right? So let's not do that. Let's not make myself hear myself. So starting from next webinars, of course, sharing your experiences, sharing whatever it is that you do on a daily job that affects the coaching program or relates to the coaching program, talk about it, because people can learn from this. And that is the second benefit that you can have. The second biggest benefit that you can have from the coaching program is because you're part of, like, if you would call it in general terms, you're part of a focus group, right? And the more time you spend with a specific focus group, the more motivated you get, or the more information you get from those people, until the point where you have the feeling, okay, I cannot learn anything more from them because we have been talking for so long, right? You have to have that feeling at the end of the coaching program. At the end of the coaching program, when I ask you the question, is there something else that you want to learn? You have to have the feeling, no, I think the coaching program cannot offer me anything else anymore. You know, like, I just want to go. I don't want to be here anymore. So have that feeling. And that's why I said, like, you're responsible. You're the master of your own personal development. I cannot push you every single time. If you don't have the motivation to do it, then there's only a certain limit that I can reach with you to teach you a certain amount of information. So the more motivation, the more the control that you take over yourself, the more that I can give you as well.
Okay. So we've got Scarlett first with her hand raised, and I'm going to unmute you, Scarlett. Go ahead when you are ready. Oh, maybe. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so when I read all that had to be done for the coaching program, I freaked out a little because it was a lot, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But I mean, I'm trusting the process. It seems like it's going to be fine. But my question is, do we have like a list of due dates so we can start working on things, like, you know, with some time? Or are you guys going to be telling us, like, okay, guys, like, you have to submit this by next week? You know, how does that work?
Oh, you mean the portfolio, the final four? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically you will get a schedule from me. So we are working, like last semester, we worked with a platform, and we're going to work with a platform again, a different one, because the old one, we couldn't work with it anymore. So what we're going to do now is that we have a platform in place where we have a calendar, actually a pretty nice calendar, to be honest. And yeah, so basically every single assignment will be in there. So starting from this week, you will have that information, and you can actively plan how you want to tackle everything.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Jake, I'm guessing you remembered your question.
Actually, it's a different question, and
Nice.
and Tim, to make a comment to your point, no, we've never met. We've never
Okay,
met, but
I
in my
feel
video,
happy again.
anybody knows what I look like. So, to my question is, what is the head coach's role involved in the cases this time?
The head coaches. So what we want to do is basically the following. In the last semester, I'm not sure how effective it was because I don't have the data in front of me right now. However, the head coaches were responsible for giving feedback on how the coaches gave feedback on a specific case, how they handled that specific conflict resolution assignment, right? What we want to do is, and that's my personal preference, is that the head coaches form a sort of board. The cases, what I currently have, and we had a discussion with Bass about this, that currently we don't trust, because you have to understand, like conflict resolution, and especially with students, it's definitely with professors, is a very touchy subject. Because there's a lot of harassment, for example, or there's a lot of, like, for example, if we get a case and it says like, okay, my team doesn't like me, I got a text from one of my teammates and he shared a picture with me for a specific culture. Sharing a picture of oneself with, like, I don't know, like he has clothing on, but like you can see a specific body part. I'm not saying that below the belt, but above the belt, of course. But in this case, if you have that situation, for one culture it could be offending, for another culture it could not be, right? And that's the issue. Like, I would like to have the head coaches have full control over the cases, so that the ex-coach email support can directly be linked to the head coaches, so that they can actively each day can look at, okay, do we have a new case? How are we going to do this? Give it to the coaches, distribute them, then give feedback on them. Like, it should be a sort of system like that, so that the head coaches have that responsibility and can use that into their portfolio. That's what I would like to have. However, right now we still are discussing how that is going to be in place with the sensitivity of the issues. Because if you're going to distribute it based on your own experience to a coach and say, okay, this is a harassment case, it could be the coach that you're distributing it to could be that he doesn't find it offending, that he's like, okay, how do I handle this case? Because in my culture, just showing the chest is not offending at all. So we're trying to figure out a way to do this. For now, the head coaches are just going to give feedback to the coaches. However, what we want to do is that we have a system in place where the coaches will have the cases distributed. So, for example, if I get a case in the email, I will send it to the coach, assign the case to him, but then also assign a specific head coach to them. So what we did before is just basically only distribute it to the coach, then have the feedback, closing the case, and then ask the head coach to see, okay, the case is closed, give feedback on how the person handled it, right? Right now, what we're going to do is that the head coach is instantly related to the case, and then he can, whenever he thinks, okay, this is going really bad, he is going to mess up, like this is not going to go well, and eventually we will have a problem, you can instantly aid the person. So you will be in CC, and you can say, okay, I will wait how he handles it, or you can say, okay, I will be directly involved and say, okay, we both will be handling your case, because I want to help my coach, plus the coach can help me, so that we both share that experience. How you do it, that's up to you, but you will just be put in CC. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then I guess also with that being said, so let's say that there's a case where the coach is unsure, I guess, not unable, let's say unsure how to handle it. They could probably turn to the head coach, and then the head coach could turn to the administration if needed, correct?
Exactly, because the coach will also know that, because in the email that we send to them, once a case is assigned, is basically as followed. The text will be, you're assigned this case. The subject of this case, according to our information, is harassment, for example. You get the summary of what happened from us, and then you will basically be asked to solve the issue or at least acquire more information. However,
Okay.
we also have a subsection under it saying your head coach for this case will be this person. And then that person will be put in CC, so you can actively contact each other saying, okay, as a coach, for example, if you're not very sure how to handle the case, you can ask for advice from your head coach. Or as a head coach, if you feel like, okay, he needs my help or needs my support, you can also directly involve yourself.
Also, on that note, Jake, so the administration, i.e. Tim and me, we will already be screening those emails. So we already know what that email pertains. And so between the coach, the head coach, and Tim and me, you already have a panel that is ready to support you at any time. So, so that's how the cases kind of are going to flow. So you, but we're giving the training opportunity first to the coach. And if they need backup or like even guidance, if it's something that could be escalated quickly, that's what the head coach is there for. And then finally, Tim and me are the backup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Perfect.
All right. These were great questions, and we had a lot to talk about. So I'm really glad that we had this video. This is going to be kind of used as a training welcome video. And so unless we have any other questions or anything you guys want to talk about, we'll let you exit as you want and enjoy the rest of your evening or morning, wherever you are.
Yeah, Scarlett has her hand up still.
Scarlett, is that the same question, or is it? Nope, it's.
Sorry. Sorry, guys.
No
I'm
worries.
good. I'm good.
Okay.
No worries. Okay, so if there are no more questions, Henrik and me need to go to a different meeting, which actually had to start like 15 minutes ago.
Oh, sorry.
But no worries. So let's do the following. As I already said, you guys, at least the coaches, will receive everything by tomorrow on their email, and the head coaches latest on Wednesday. And let's go from there, okay? So I will make the WhatsApp group so that everybody can communicate with each other and we can share updates. Kim will make the Facebook group so that everybody can share experiences or collaborate with each other. For example, if you have a question about a specific case, you can just ask people and discuss about it, have a sort of focus group. So let's do the following and what I just mentioned, and then next week we will have a webinar again and then talk about anything that you have witnessed, share experiences, questions about the first week. Okay?
Perfect. And Jake, stay on the line because you and I have a meeting, so we'll just go ahead and use this one.
Yes, I was going to remind you.
Okay. All right. So everybody, you have a fantastic evening, morning, wherever you are. So thank you for coming, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video.